This is MoneyWiseAdvice channel. We are here to help you get better with your financials so you could have more time for yourself and for your family. My name is Alex McGregor. I'm your financial advisor.
A lease and a sublease are both difference between a lease-sublease agreement. Lease and sublease agreements have different legal implications. A lease and a sublease are both legal documents that specify the rights and obligations of the landlord and the occupants of a rental property. The two types of documents are not interchangeable. They have different purposes and are used in different situations. A lease generally takes precedent over a sublease. Contract parties. The parties to a lease agreement are the landlord, who owns the rental property, and the tenant, who rents the property. If there is more than one tenant, all of them should sign the lease. With a sublease agreement, the parties are a tenant whose name is on an original lease, and the subtenant, who temporarily lives in the rental property in lieu of the tenant. In some cases, the landlord may also have to sign a sublease agreement. Contract terms. Both lease and sublease agreements usually have a fixed term, but a lease agreement usually has a longer term than a sublease agreement. The term of a lease is often 1 year or longer. A sublease agreement may only last for several months. For example, a student may sign a lease with a 1-year term and then sublet the rental property during the summer break when he goes away for a vacation. Responsibility for rent payments. With a lease agreement, the tenant assumes the responsibility to pay regular rent to the landlord. A sublease agreement does not transfer the tenant's responsibility to pay rent to the landlord. A sublease agreement gives the subtenant a legal obligation to pay the tenant, but the tenant remains the one with the legal obligation to pay rent to the landlord. Other responsibilities. A lease agreement binds the tenant to certain obligations toward the landlord as stated in the lease. The tenant remains liable to these obligations, even if he has sublet the rental property to someone else. The tenant also assumes landlord-like responsibilities with a sublease agreement. For example, the tenant has to give sufficient notice to the subtenant to end the sublease arrangement, and the tenant has to follow proper eviction procedures if the subtenant refuses to move out when required.
If you find the video useful, press like. If you want more videos like this, please subscribe. See you next time. Good luck.